Is the housing market going to crash in 2023? Let's bone up on what we know right now. And if you stay till the end, I'll give you my prediction for what I think is going to happen. If you search any topic or search long and hard enough, you're going to find an article that supports whatever hypothesis you think is going to happen in 2023. So I could search, is the market going to crash or is the market going to boom? And I would probably find somebody that would give me an article that would tell me both things are going to happen. So how do we kind of walk our way through what we really think is going to happen in 2023? So with what we saw in November with interest rates and inflation, some of those inflation numbers, we have yet to see the impact on the housing market in December. Buyers and sellers are focusing on their holidays, so we're not seeing as much activity. That's normal market behavior. But we are starting to hear some things related to 2023 that tell us what we think is going to happen. So here's what the experts are saying is going to happen in 2023. These things hinge very closely on the two I words, maybe the R word, inflation, interest rates, and the word recession. Inflation is seeming to come down right now, but that remains to be seen. Interest rates are believed to have peaked in November. We will probably see some uptick. In fact, I saw an article just this morning that the Fed is signaling that they will raise them again, but we saw signaling last week that they weren't going to. So, well, it remains to be seen, and I think the indicator comes out tomorrow. But interest rates could go up, but they're believed to have peaked. We won't see that volatility that we saw in 2022. The R word is still being thrown around, recession, but as unemployment remains low, as inflation starts to go down, and we see those interest rates go down, perhaps that's past. Not going to make predictions on that, but I do think that the fact that most people have jobs and are still making money, or the folks that want to work, keeping our unemployment low, that hopefully we will avoid recession. In the actual housing market, we will see a more neutral effect on appreciation. Homes will not appreciate as much as they have. We've seen them in the double digits over the last 2 years. I think nationwide we averaged about 26% growth. So we've got some markets that grew really high, and that some actually did have depreciation. But forecasts are that home appreciation will be more neutral. So we won't see those great gains in the value of homes in the next year. There will be less competition for buyers. A lot of buyers can no longer afford in this market with the interest rates the way they are. They've been priced out, or they've been priced out because homes did appreciate over the last 2 years. So there's less competition. There are buyers in the market, but there's less competition. It is still a seller's market. So as a seller, if you're looking to sell in 2023, we still have a deficiency or depletion of homes. I still consistently, even when this is being filmed in December, there are twice as many homes closing or selling in a day as come on the market. And as long as that continues to happen, we will be in what we call an inventory issue. Right now, if all the homes on the market sold right away, we would only have homes for the next 2.5 months, and that's not enough. We need about 6 months of inventory. And with that, sellers will have to change some of their expectations. They'll need to make sure that they price their homes correctly for the market the way that it is. They will need to understand that there will be contingencies that will need to be considered where we've gone without for the last few years. They will need to recognize that homes will sit a little longer, that buyers are being choosier because there's less competition. They're taking their time. And they're really making sure that when they make that investment, especially at those higher interest rates, that they are taking their time and doing all the right things to make sure that that's really the right decision for them. And another key prediction in the market right now is related to the number of homes that are going to sell overall. It is believed that the actual volume of sales, not necessarily the volume of sales dollars, but the units that will sell will be less in 2023. We will see pre-2019, possibly pre-2018 levels. That's a number of factors. Buyers stepped out, sellers that aren't willing to give up the good interest rates that they got in the last few years, and just folks in general maybe holding back a little bit. But overall, as it has done in the last 6 recessions, the housing market is being looked at as what will lead our economy out of a recession, even a small one if we have one. So homes always have to sell. People always have to move for some reason or another. Um, and in the last 6 recessions that we've had, the housing market has actually led our economy out of those. It is predicted that will happen in 2023 as well. So if you stuck around this long, here are my predictions for 2023. So we live here in Northeast Wisconsin, and I really feel like Northeast Wisconsin was a little late to the party in a good way in relation to what's been happening in the rest of the country. Yes, we did see a slowdown starting in about April. Some of the competition backed off, but I will tell you that right into November, we were still seeing homes sell above asking price, and buyers were still active. Things slowed down with the days on the market a little bit, but if you look at the data, it says the days on the market are still shorter than they were a year ago. So homes are just sitting a little less longer with respect to actual days on the market. But so what do I think for Northeast Wisconsin? I think that we are going to probably see in early January the buyers are going to kind of look at those interest rates and get a little more comfortable and say, I backed out, I'm going back in. I think we'll have a strong spring. I think there's a whole group of millennials that still wants to buy a house, and there will be a threshold related to the cost of owning a home and the cost of renting. But I ultimately think those millennials want to build their wealth. That comes through a few ways: 401ks, crypto for some, and real estate. And as we learned in 2022, these last few weeks, these last few months, the stock market is taking a hit related to everything that's going on. Crypto's had its own issues. Homes are still the only thing that are really keeping their value as we get through this. So I think millennials will enter back into the marketplace. I think for that reason, we may see competition pick up in the spring. I think another thing that will happen is that people will start to do a little bit more research about what's normal for an interest rate. The rates that we had in late 2019 were not normal. Those of us that have owned a home for more than the last 5 years understand what it's like to have double-digit interest, or more of a normalized 5 to 6 to 7%. I look back at my first home and it was financed at 8%, and that was in the early 90s. So I do think in 2023 that people will start to understand what normal is and enter back into the market. At some point, the buyers that stepped out will step back in. So when that happens, right now I'm kind of thinking that it's going to be 2023. So for a strong spring, possibly into the summer. That's my personal prediction. Unemployment is low. We are seeing rates go down. The lever that the Fed has been pushing is not been working, so they need to try something else. So I anticipate that we'll see a change again in 2023 in the spring. What do you think is going to happen?